I'm Emily. Welcome back for yoga. Wow, I've sat in this position, but it is not comfortable for me. And that's the thing with yoga, right? Some days are different from others. You get into a position or a posture that normally might feel really good, and then something feels off, and you have to back out of it. And it's so important to listen to your body, because if you don't, then you can end up creating some really crazy imbalances and movement patterns. So, anyway, enough of that. I thought we would work a little bit through a Warrior Two sequence. So, getting a little bit fiery, but also maybe hopefully being able to find a bit of space in it. So, I'll encourage you as we're doing it to maybe back out of the depth a little bit so that maybe you can find a little bit more stability, a little bit more ease. And by doing that, you might be able to find a place where you can spend longer in the posture than you might normally. So we'll see. Okay. I'll invite you to find a tall seat. You can be cross-legged or on your shins. Again, legs could be outstretched. You might sit half and half like I am. I'm up on a block. Just helps give me a little bit of space. And for 3 breaths, inhale deeply through your nose. Exhale, sigh. And a breath away. Couple more, just like that. And continue breathing however you need to. In and out through your nose or your mouth. Notice how your breath is flowing. And in particular, notice the space between each breath. At the top of the inhale and at the bottom of the exhale. And you don't need to lengthen it. You don't need to change your breath in any way. Simply notice it, observe it. Notice if it's longer at the base or at the top of the breath. Last few moments here. And at any point today, if things get too wobbly or shaky, too fiery or intense, you can gently draw your focus back to this breath, in particular to the spaces between the breath. It can help calm the wobbles and shakes and help dispel the fire and intensity. Gently flick your eyelids open and make your way to hands and knees. Setting up with knees underneath hips, toes tucked or untucked, hands outer shoulder width apart or wider, little draw of belly button to spine. And then inhale, lift the tailbone to the sky, hollow through the lower back, broaden through the collarbones. Exhale, round through the spine. Really press through those hands. Inhale slowly, dipping the belly, opening the chest, and exhale to round. So a few more of these undulations on your own time, on your own breath. And you might keep it really simple. Or you might start to move, getting into spaces that feel a little bit tight. If your low back feels sore, then really sort of pressing the hips back toward the heels can feel great. And you might dip the nose. You could do barrel rolls through the chest, just moving however you need to move. Right? Cat and cow like nobody's watching, and probably no one isn't, unless you have a toddler at home, maybe watching you do yoga, or a fur baby. Last couple breaths. Okay, come back to center. We're going to do a little bit of single leg balancing on the knees. So sometimes knees can be a little bit tender. I recommend using a chip foam block. You might bring it underneath your left knee, a little bit more cushioning. A little draw of belly button to spine. And then keeping your right knee bent, start to pick the leg up to the side. Now I don't want you to open it up or distort your torso in any way. So it's probably a really subtle, quite a bit smaller range of motion than you might expect. So just playing with that external rotation at the hip, also firing up the glutes a little bit, you might notice. And then start to bring a little bit more movement. This is where you can allow the movement to come into the body. Right? So moving, however, feels good here. You could do figure eights. You could draw circles. You could do extension and flexion, whatever you need to do. But again, you might be feeling those glutes on the supporting side, just firing up a little bit. Again, one more breath here. And then come back to center. Right away, we'll switch to the opposite side. Little draw of belly button to spine. Toes tucked on the right side can really help the stability. And then just those gentle winging open. So it's kind of like clamshells if you do those at the gym. Right? A few of these. Trying to keep the hips square as much as possible. Without a mirror, it's tricky. And then maybe adding a bit more movement here and allowing the body to move however it needs to move. Right? So opening up and closing through the hips, just exploring the movement. And one side can feel so different from the other. Maybe there are clicks. Maybe it feels really smooth. Last couple breaths here. And slowly release. Come back to center. And then make your way to downward facing dog. So hands outer shoulder width apart or wider. Spread the fingers wide, tuck the toes. Lift your hips up and back. You might lengthen your stance. You might shorten it a little bit. I'm a fan of a slightly shorter stance in downward facing dog. I find it gives me more support. You could bend the knees deeply, resting the belly on the upper thighs. You could straighten the legs a little bit. Your heels might never touch in downward facing dog. Your legs might never get straight. That is fine. You might play with coming up onto fingertips on one hand or the other, or maybe both. Good. And then bend your knees a little bit. Come up onto your toes. Shift your heels to the right, all 10 toes to the left, and then lift the left hip up a little bit more. You might even come onto the fingertips on that left side, getting in a long, long stretch on that side of the body. Come back to center, and then heels to the left, toes to the right. Pick up that right hip a little bit more, and come back to center. Spread the fingers wide, bend your knees, look forward. On your exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of your mat, standing forward fold. Knees bent. Right, please don't lock out your knees. You can sway a little bit from side to side. You could bounce. Maybe you rest your knees on your elbows or thighs. If you'd like a little bit more support, you can always bring your hands to your block or your tins or whatever you have. Sometimes it feels really good just to be still, and you might play with bending the knees a little bit more, see how that feels, or maybe straighten them a little bit more. Right? And it sends the stretch to different parts of the leg. The hamstrings are such a long muscle group, you can stretch them in lots of different ways. If your arms are bound, release them with fingertips to your shins, or maybe the earth. Inhale, lift up partway. Exhale, let it go. 2 more on your own time. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, fold. Last one. And bend your knees. Tuck your chin in toward your chest. Slowly start to roll up to standing, 1 vertebra at a time. Slow as you need to go. Head heavy. You could rock a little bit from side to side. Maybe you pause at a sticky spot. Knees bent the entire time though. Helps protect your pelvis. Very last thing that happens is the knees straighten, crown of the head lifts, maybe a couple loops of the shoulders, up, back, and down. Needle, release whatever you need to release. I like lots of movement at the top. If you come to my classes, you'll know that. Welcome to standing. All right. Let's move through a couple sun salutations to build up some heat, and then we'll go into warrior two. Awesome. So a little drop, belly bend to spine. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky. And exhale, forward fold. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. Whew. Bend your knees, plant your hands. Inhale, step back to plank, top of a push-up. Couple breaths here. You can be on your knees or your toes, whatever feels good. And then exhale, lower all the way down to the floor. Untuck the toes, tops of the feet press into the floor, tailbone to the back wall, belly button to spine. Inhale, lift the heart forward to come up, baby cobra. Exhale, lower back down. So a couple more of these. You can play with it. Maybe the hands hover, or maybe you press them into the floor a little bit more. You could take them out onto the wood to open through the chest. Keep the back of the neck long though if you can, so likely you're looking down rather than forward. Right? Last breath here. Good. If you've moved your hands, bring them back underneath your shoulders or by your low ribs. Tuck your toes, belly bend to spine. Exhale, lift up and back. Downward facing dog. Bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of the mat. Inhale, lift up partway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Exhale, right back down to the earth, forward fold. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold, plant your hands. Inhale, step back, high plank. Exhale, lower all the way or partway to the earth. Inhale through baby cobra or maybe upward facing dog. I'll workshop that soon. Exhale, downward facing dog. Okay. On your inhale, lift your right leg high, three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose, shoulders over wrists. Inhale, back up, three-legged dog. Exhale, right knee to right armpit or elbow, hips high. Inhale, back up. Exhale, draw the knee across to the opposite side. Inhale, back up. Exhale, knee to nose. And then step the right foot between your hands. Wrap your back foot for warrior two. So heel to heel or heel to arch alignment. And then inhale, come on up. Whew. This is fun demoing and talking through the whole thing. Okay, bend both knees to start with. And this is weird, but it's fun. Stick your booty back and get a little wiggle on, a little shake. Imagine you've got like surf music or party music on. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. You can do kind of lunges, right? But what this does is it gets a little bit more mobility into that front hip until you feel like, okay, now I can sink into it a little bit more and then supercharge the back leg towards straight. You'll notice my quad or my thigh does not come 90 degrees or parallel to the floor, right? That is not a good position for my body. So go where you need to go. Hug the legs toward each other. You make sure that when you look down, you can see the big toe inside the front knee. So if that knee is caving in, use your hand, wrap the hip down and back. And then inhale, open the arms wide. Elbows can be bent, palms can face up. Maybe you just feel like having your hands on your heart for a few breaths. Stay here, warrior two for a few more breaths. Feel the hug of the legs toward each other, right? As if you were Bambi on ice. You don't want the feet to fly away. Keep hugging the legs toward each other. That takes the pressure off that front thigh. And gently flick your eyelids open. Flip the front palm up. Inhale, sweep over your back leg. Exalted warrior. You might just reach up to the sky. Some of you might reach further back. That back hand could rest on the thigh on the hip for more support, or any arm variation of your choice. You can even give yourself a sneaky neck massage. That feels so good. All right, some of you might straighten that front leg, take it into an exalted triangle if you prefer. And then inhale back to center. Okay, start to reach your upper body forward. Pause here. Notice what that front hip is doing. Keep wrapping it back, belly button to spine. And you might stay here, hovering it out in side angle. You can add more weight. You can take weight away. Right? Now maybe you feel like you don't want to hover. So you can bring that front elbow to the knee, top arm reach up to the sky. That can feel kind of hard on the shoulder sometimes. So maybe you sweep the arm, reaching the fingertips and the back heel in opposite directions. Right, without crowding the ear, without collapsing forward. You want to think of spiraling the upper left ribs open to the sky. If you have a deeper variation, feel free to go where you'd like to go. Last couple breaths here. And then inhale all the way back up. Shake it out a little bit. And then come back to warrior two. Clasp your hands behind your back. Elbows can be bent or straight. As you inhale, lift through your heart. Exhale, melt your shoulders inside the front knee. Humble warrior. All right, so knuckles can reach up to the sky or to the wall in front. And if that front shoulder happens to get inside the knee, you can use it to nudge it out to the baby toe edge of the foot. Last couple breaths here. On your exhale, release your hands inside the front foot. And then imagine I'm on the short edge of my mat. Walk your upper body off the top corner of the mat, but keep the legs in warrior two. So that front knee really likes to cave in. Send it out to the baby toe edge of the foot. Keep wrapping that front hip back. So the hands are kind of in downward facing dog. And then bow into it. Last couple breaths here. Slowly back out of it. Walk the hands back on either side of the front foot. Pick up the back heel. Step back through a flow to downward facing dog or to child's pose, wherever you need to go. Few breaths, either in movement or in stillness. One more inhale. One sweet exhale. And then come back to downward facing dog. Okay. On your inhale, lift your left leg high, three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose, shoulders over hips, or wrists rather. Inhale, back up. Exhale, left knee to left armpit or elbow, hips high. Inhale, back up. Exhale, draw the knee across to the opposite side. Inhale, back up. Exhale, knee to nose. Pause here. Look forward. Exhale, step the left foot between your hands. You can always use your hand to get it there. Wrap the back heel for warrior two. And then inhale. Come on up. So again, shake it up, right? Bend the back knee, catch your breath. Maybe that's just me. And then stick your booty back. Get that little wiggle on. Little shake, right? And if, like me, you have sort of chronic things going on from one side to the other, it can feel so different, right? It can feel clunky or clicky. If you feel pain, don't do it. Last couple breaths here. And then eventually start to sink into that front thigh and hug the legs toward each other like crazy, rather than pressing them away, because you'll feel the quad immediately as you do that. Look down, make sure you can see your big toe. Wrap the front hip back and under. And then inhale, maybe the arms are out, straight and fiery. They could be bent, palms face up, or maybe just resting on your heart. Try and find that space between the breath. Gently flip the front palm up Inhale, sweep over the back leg, exalted warrior. Again, any variation with the arms. Right? Maybe you're doing Gomukhasana arms. Maybe you're just using that one hand to wrap that left hip down, top hand giving you a little neck massage. Last few breaths. Try not to open too much through the throat. And inhale back through center. Shake it out a little bit. Okay, hug the legs toward each other. Reach the upper body forward and then pause, right? So getting into those obliques a little bit. Keep wrapping the upper left ribs, right ribs. I don't remember what side we're on. Open to the sky. Top ribs opening to the sky. Maybe you hover it out. Or maybe you feel like bringing that front elbow to the knee, top hand up to the sky, or bicep over ear. You have a tendency for the hips to lift quite a bit here. Can you think of just sinking them a little bit? All right. Last few breaths in side angle. Try not to compromise the space of that ear. And then inhale back up. Shake out that leg, especially if that thigh is burning. And it's natural, it happens. Interlace your hands behind the back, opposite thumb on top. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. Inhale, lift through your heart. Exhale, melt inside the front knee. Humble warrior. Keep wrapping the front hip back slightly. One more inhale. Exhale, release your hands inside the front foot. Walk your upper body off that top corner of the mat, but try not to let that front knee cave in. Right? It really likes to do that here. So you might have to back out of the upper body a little bit in order to keep that knee stacked over the ankle. Maybe you're up on fingertips, you might be down on your palms. Last breath. And then slowly back out of it. Pick up the back heel. Bring your hands on either side of the front foot. Step back through flow, down dog, child's pose, wherever you need to go. Few breaths, either in motion or in stillness. And then slowly come down to hands and knees if you're in down dog. If you're in child's pose, just slither out onto your belly. Eventually, we'll all make our way here. Little wiggle of the hips from side to side. Untuck the toes. Tops of the feet really press into the earth, so much so you feel your kneecaps lift away from the floor. Tailbone to the back wall. Feel your belly button engage toward your spine. And then inhale, lift the heart forward and up. Now you might reach your arms back along beside you. Palms can face up or down. Some of you might interlace your hands behind the back. Whatever feels best. And then you might reach your feet so far back that they de-weight as well. Coming into one long line. Right? Toes, fingertips reaching back. Your heart beaming forward. You might inhale, lift everything up a little bit higher. Exhale, release all the way down. Maybe one cheek to the floor. To deep belly breaths to release through the lower back. And then come back to center, back on your belly. Get all the activations going. Tailbone to the back wall, belly button to spine. Inhale, lift up. Some of you might stay here. Some of you might kick your feet to the bum, grab the outside or inside of the feet or the ankles, and then kick up into bow. Really squeeze the bum though, so you don't crank into the lower back. Hug the legs toward each other. Stay as long as you need to. And then exhale, slowly release. Opposite cheek to the floor to balance out your neck. Couple breaths. And roll over to your back, please. So we're going to set up for bridge pose. If you have a cushion or a block handy and you'd prefer to do supported bridge, then you're welcome to do that. Excuse me. Knees bent, feet hip width apart, and parallel, and the heels close enough into your bum that you can tickle them with your fingertips. What this does is it more or less stacks your ankle underneath your knee and it becomes a really strong base of support. Okay. Press your feet into the floor. On your inhale, peel the pelvis up and away. Now you might stay here, you might lift up higher. Some of you might flow in and out of bridge. You might clasp your hands behind your back. Maybe walk onto the outside edge of the shoulders. Right? Any variation that you like, but try to keep it both feet rather than lifting one leg. And what this does between this and the cobra or the bow or locust that we were doing is it helps reset the pelvis after really intense single leg work, like warrior two. Last couple of breaths, whether you're in movement or in stillness. And then exhale, release all the way down. You might heel and toe the feet out mat width apart. Let the knees hang in toward each other. Couple breaths just to breathe, to relax. Draw your knees in towards your chest. We'll rock from side to side. So bring your right arm out to the side. You might scoot your hips right a little bit first. Exhale, lower your knees to the left for a twist. You can take any variation of twist that you like to, where the knees are stacked. You might take a single leg twist. You might cross the legs, whatever feels best for you. And if your knees are really hovering off the floor, you could bring a block underneath them or between them, right? So that you can be here in ease. And you might even look along the right arm, away from the knees, just to finish off the spiral in the neck. A few more breaths here. One more inhale. One sweet exhale. And then slowly draw the knees back to center. Reset your spine or your pelvis. You might shift the hips left and then lower the knees to the right. Left arm goes out to the side. Elbow could be bent or straight, whatever feels best. It might not make any difference. It might make all the difference in the world. Sometimes it feels nice to bring the right hand onto the top of that, onto the top thigh or knee. You could look along the left arm. Allowing the breath to settle. Finding that space between each breath. Last couple breaths here. And then inhale, slowly come back to center. Reset the spine. And then my offering for you today for your rest is to heel and toe the feet together, soles of the feet touching, knees come wide. For a butterfly, if you have blocks, then you can bring them underneath your thighs for support. And if that doesn't feel good, then by all means, just rest wherever you need to rest. Try to take 5, maybe even 10 minutes here if you can. Thank you so much for joining me again today. Namaste.